Hello everyone, it's Katrina from the Alluring Bead Boutique, and today I'm back to do a little quick product review of a little jewelry making tools kit that I got on Amazon. This little kit is a 24-piece kit, and it is sold by the Monvict store, M-O-N-V-I-C-T, and I'll put a link to this particular item in the description below and also in the little eye up in the corner. So let's go ahead and jump right in and take a look at what is included in this little kit. First of all, if you'll notice that the little zippered case that it comes in is really quite nice. I've opened and closed it several times and it's holding up really well. It's got a good zipper, which opens 3/4 of the way around. And when you open it, here is what you'll find inside. So the first thing that you'll notice, obviously, are these 3 spools sitting on top of the tools here. So I've grabbed out my wire gauge, and I'm able to determine that the wires are 28 gauge. As you can see, they fit nicely into the 28 slot right here. So we've got some beautiful bronzy gold colored wire. We have some silver, which I'm going to just assume is the same gauge. And then we also have some of this stretchy beading cord, which you can pull on it and see that it's for making stretch bracelets. So this little kit retails for $15.99 on Amazon. And of course, it's a Prime item, so if you're a Prime member, you will get free shipping as well. There aren't any beads included in this particular kit, but basically it's just for the basic tools. So let's go ahead and start looking at the tools. First of all, I'm going to start with the pliers side. So I've already taken the protective wraps off of the pliers. This is your round nose pliers, and one of the things that I like to do when I first get a set of round nose pliers is pinch them together and then take a look at how the nose of the pliers line up. So if you'll notice here, these line up in a nice straight line, so it's going to enable you to make some really good loops with the wire. And we'll try a few loops shortly with the wire that came with the kit. But I wanted to let you know that I really like this particular set of round nose pliers because the 2 barrels line up perfectly straight. And I like having the finer tip on my pliers so that I can get a small loop if I want, and I can go all the way up to larger loops closer to the end of the barrels. So this kit also includes a handy little caliper, so basically we can take a look at what size loops we'll be able to make with these pliers. And I'm going to start down here at the largest portion of the barrel, and we'll just close that up around the barrel like that. And then we will take a look at the size of a loop we can create here. It does have millimeters on one side and inches on the other. And if you'll notice here that what we were able to create with the largest part of the barrel is a 4mm loop. And if we come up to closer to the tip of the barrel here and measure it with these cute little calipers, we can take a look here and see that we're about a 1.5mm loop at the smallest end of the round nose pliers. So you get a pretty good range of loop sizes you can create with these little pliers. Now the caliper does go from 0mm up to 80mm, and it goes from 0 inches up to like around 3.5 inches. So you just slide these out, and you can measure beads, gemstones, and several other things. This side of the calipers is used to measure the inside diameter. So if I had I found a jump ring and I didn't know what size it was, I could stick this inside the jump ring and then spread it out from side to side, and I could see what the inside diameter of that jump ring would be. So that's a pretty handy little tool. And I'm glad it was included because a lot of kits don't include a caliper, and then you wind up having to spend extra money to get one of your own. All right, And now we're also going to take a look at the chain nose pliers. So we're going to go ahead and pull those out. Chain nose pliers are different from flat nose pliers. Flat nose pliers are flat all the way across. This is a flat nose. This is a chain nose. And these are used for making chain mail and things like that. But they're also used a lot in loop making and wire wrapping and things of that nature. What differentiates a pair of regular chain nose pliers that you get at the hardware store from jewelry pliers is the fact that the inside of the nose of these pliers should be flat. There shouldn't be any teeth or little gripping lines in here that can mar up your jewelry making wires, and these are indeed flat inside. So that's a pretty nice little pair of chain nose pliers. It's got a nice fine tip on it. You'll be able to use this a lot in your when you're making loops or making beaded links, things like that. They'll come in really handy. So that's a nice little set of chain nose pliers. And once again, if you look at the tips, they line up really nice and look really good. Then we have a pair of side cutters. Now, side cutters are different from flush cutters, and I have a little piece of wire which I can demonstrate on. So when you cut a wire with side cutters, you're always going to have a little point. And for certain parts of jewelry making, that is okay to have a little tip on the end of your wire. You will just take a file and you will smooth that out. When you use a pair of flush cutting cutters, when you cut the end with the flush cutters, you get a nice flat end. And you don't get any sharp tips, but you still will have to do some filing or some smoothing, no matter what type of cutters you're using. Having side cutters is okay. I would think that this kit could only be improved by adding a flush cutter to the mix. However, these cutters do cut nice and crisp, so basically they're brand new and they are handy to have for heavier gauge wire. Later on, when you get a little bit more professional in your jewelry making, you definitely will want to get a pair of fine tipped flush cutters such as these here. All right, so let's move on and see what else we've got in here. So we have a little Beadall, which can help you poke wires. It's also good to slightly enlarge holes in certain soft beads. I really don't use the beading all much. However, you can also use this for a mandrel if you wanted to make a few coils, to make a few jump rings really quick. So that's kind of handy. Let's get it back where it goes. And I also want to talk about these cute little snips here, these scissors. These are really great. These little snips work really well on braided beading thread and fishing line. So I'm really glad to see that this pair of super sharp cutters was included in this kit. I've had several pairs from my years as a seamstress, and also I use them in my bead weaving, which usually when you're weaving with beads, you're going to be using a type of braided thread, either Fireline or Wildfire, and these scissors can cut very well. They have a beautiful little tip so you can get in really nice and close to finish beading threads off. Also, I'm assuming that you would use them for this stretchy wire. I'm not big into making stretch bracelets, but if that's your thing, and a lot of people when they're first starting out like to make those, these will come in really handy for snipping off the ends of the threads away from your knots. And another great item included here is a flexible measuring tape. And the reason that this is so wonderful to have a flexible measuring tape as opposed to a straight stiff ruler is that you'll want to measure around wrists, around fingers, and things like that to determine how long you want to make your rings or your bracelets or even necklaces. And a flexible tape is a must-have in jewelry making, especially for beaded jewelry. So it's good to have that included in this kit. I'm going to set this stuff aside. And let's move on to this adorable little set of bent nose tweezers. So once again, there are going to be times when you really need to get into a tight spot when you're making jewelry. Whether you're adding another link onto a beaded bracelet with wire, or you're working with chainmail, having a set of bent nose pliers or bent nose tweezers is really, really a useful thing. And you'll want to have something like this around, so I'm really glad to see that that was included in this kit. It comes in extremely handy, and it's very useful. And the last few things that I have in this kit are a jump ring opener, which you just, if you're doing a lot of jump rings, this comes in really handy. You can just slide it on your thumb. You'll pick up a jump ring with a pair of pliers, stick it in here. You can open the jump ring. You can also close them with this little tool right here. And I basically already have one, so you can see that this one's gotten a lot of use, and it's always good to have one around if you once you get into making chain jewelry with jump rings and things like that. This little gadget is called a thimble ring, and what this does is it helps you to push your needle through other materials such as surface backing if you're doing bead embroidery, things like that. That's about the only thing I can see in jewelry making that I would use this for, basically, would be to push the needle through the backing on some bead embroidery. And I did not have one of these, so it's kind of great to have one. I haven't really used one. I bet just old school using a regular thimble for that. However, it might be pretty neat to try this out at some point. Beading needles are quite small and pointy, and this could prevent you from stabbing yourself so many times as I am woe to do. And we have some needle threaders here. You have three different sizes of needle threaders up here in the corner. I'm not going to take those out, but what those do is allow you to put your threading material through, push this through your needle, the eye of your needle, put the threading through the little loop here, pull it back through the eye, and pull the thread through. And so that just leaves us with these needles here. So let's take a look at these needles. So what we have here are 6 different size of needles, which I checked these out as far as like tiny seed beads go, and they will not work for delicate seed bead jewelry. However, they will work for threading on numerous large hole beads onto a beading material such as this stretch cord and some of your finer wires such as this. You can get those through the eye of the needle, and I'm sure you can get like wildfire and things like that also through these needle eyes. However, you cannot get your seed beads to pass over the eye of that needle. So the only thing I would suggest to the manufacturer here on that is to include a few actual size beading needles in here so that bead weavers can also benefit from your gorgeous little kit. But I really like the needle tube. It's got a nice tight fitting lid, so for storage purposes it's a really great little item. So let's go ahead and make a couple of loops with this little short piece of wire I have. I'll make one on each end, and we're going to use these cute little round nose pliers. So one trick that jewelry makers use is to mark their pliers if they're going to be making the same size loop multiple times. So what you would do is take your caliper, say you wanted to make a nice 3 millimeter loop. So we would just measure where that is. We would take a some type of a like a permanent mark of some type, like either whiteout or a Sharpie pen. And they do make Sharpies in all colors now that will show up against this black. And you would just mark the spot where you want to make your same size loops. And that way you can make repetitive loops the same way. But for purposes of this today, I'm just going to be working up close to the end here, like a couple of millimeters down. We're going to grab the wire in between the two barrels here. Make sure that we can't feel any wire poking up, and then we're just going to turn and roll these pliers away from ourselves. As far as we can roll, open up, rotate, grab, and then go again until the wires, the two wires meet. So you have the one end of your wire butting up against the end of your other wire, like that. Then to straighten that out, we'll just put the pliers back in, grab below where the two wires meet, and twist back. And now we have a good, beautiful little eye pin. So we'll just pretend that we've added a few beads onto this wire here, and we're going to make another loop on the other end. And on this end, we want to roll our wire in the opposite direction. In this one, we rolled our wire this way. So here we're going to roll our wire back in the other direction. Just going to grasp here on our wire, make sure we don't have anything poking up, and then we're going to repeat the same process. We're going to roll, open, roll, until we can those two wires actually meet. Then we're going to go back in and grip below where the wires meet and tilt it back, just like that. And there we have a beautiful little bar link. So we've made a bar link here. So overall, I think this is a nice little kit for beginner jewelry making. I think it has a lot of the basic tools already included in it that you would need. And the other thing I really like about it is that everything stays in place when you close it back up. So you don't have any of your tools shifting around on the inside. I've moved this thing around several times since I got it. My grandsons were here, so it took me just a little bit to get this video done. However, if you'll notice, you can really jostle it around, and when you open it up, nothing is out of place. So that is very, very nice. I really like the little case, and I'm really pleased to have some extra jewelry tools added to my arsenal. All right, folks, that's it for this review and this unboxing video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.